does it still feel like a bear market to you? Or no? Because when I went for Token 2049, it felt like a bull market. It didn't feel like a bear market.
No, yeah.
Cryptocurrency exchange.
Non-fungible. We only take Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Chain Debrief podcast. So today we have with us in our studio Annabelle Huang. She's the managing partner of Amber Group. And thank you so much, Amber, for taking your time to just join us here.
Thanks for having me today.
So before we get into Amber Group, it's a pretty big name in the crypto space. I want to know what led you to Amber Group? What brought you into crypto, and how did you find yourself ending up at Amber Group?
Yeah, well, I guess going down the memory lane. So I actually got my career start in Wall Street in New York.
Wow.
Traditional FX, fixed income type roles. Move into crypto around 2017, 2018. I would say it's actually by chance. So I was living in New York. I got to meet a couple Carnegie Mellon alumni who went to the same school I did. They all had a very successful career and exits, and they got together to start this decentralized finance platform on Ethereum. Back then, I didn't know what any of this meant, but I liked the team as a group of incredible people. And then I think that was also a time where I spent a couple years at the investment bank and wanted to see what else is out there. Maybe FinTech or emerging market or emerging technology. And I felt like blockchain was a good fit. And I was lucky to find a really good team of people and decided to take a chance. And then that was really it. There's no going back after.
No regrets.
Exactly. There's a rabbit hole, but we had so much, a lot of up and downs, a lot of challenges ever since. But yeah, I don't think any of us regretted being in this space. So then that was, and I moved to Hong Kong for the team. Given that I think I was the only person who were actually born and raised in Asia. So I went to Hong Kong, looking at the Hong Kong DeFi scene, which was super nascent back then. And that's where I got to meet the Amber Group guys, who also have a very similar background as myself. They were Morgan Stanley, fixed income traders, also wanted to explore crypto, and it just felt like a good fit. And then I eventually decided to join them because Amber Group was not just a DeFi platform, but also provides a lot of the CeFi liquidity and services. So at that time, it was what the market needed before we can move fully on chain.
Wow. And tell me, so you're a managing partner at Amber Group. So what does a managing partner do? What's your day-to-day like?
Managing partner means we do everything, right? So my role has changed quite a bit over the last couple of years with Amber. I first joined to look after our trading team, especially on the sales trading side, servicing a lot of our institutional and the high net worth individual clients who need to access crypto liquidity, borrow, lend, structured products, and specifically focusing on structured products with option derivative space, given that was my background previously, and there wasn't much options or derivatives platform back then, much less education. So I think the industry has learned quite a bit about risk management and the tools that are available for us to do that since then. And I moved on to actually leading our product team before we launched our consumer-facing product, WealthFin. I would say that was one of the hardest challenges I've ever faced, leading the product team to build an MVP and launch it globally before moving to my current role, which is looking after our global sales and business development teams. And of course, doing a bit more on the PR, the marketing side, so that we can continue to build our presence globally.
You guys are mostly like B2B, right? And then when it came to WealthFin, it's more focused towards like retail consumers, right?
Yeah, so WealthFin is sort of our front-end platform where we aggregate a lot of our institutional grade services, but make it simple to use, easy to use, where you can access it directly on your mobile phone or the web portal. So you don't need to be a the world's top 10 hedge fund to access our trading liquidity per se. You can do that at the tip of your finger on the mobile app, which is really going back to our thesis of bringing this open access to anyone who wants to tap into crypto. But of course, I think given the nature of our products and services, still more around wealth management. So I think it typically is quite different from maybe the exchanges or different sort of target users. For us, it's still the people, the user who want to build and continue to grow their wealth in crypto.
Oh, interesting. And you mentioned you had many roles in Amber Group. So what was your proudest moment in Amber Group?
Actually, looking back, I think I've had a lot of proud moments. I think for me, now moving to a bit of the management role, I think the proud moments would be hiring good people, being able to train them and seeing them thrive in the industry, and seeing their conviction at the firm, at the industry, and seeing them actually covering more clients, bring more in. Then you feel like, then it's beyond maybe what I can do myself, but how we can empower more people, and then in return, more people and more institutions to come into space. And at the end of the day, all of us need that conviction, right? So I think even just bringing that part through education, through the products we service, through chatting with people in general. So I think in general, it is a very challenging thing to do, being able to manage and grow a team. But I think that's also in return one of the most fulfilling thing I got to do.
That's really commendable. And you mentioned conviction and education. So I think like from my point of view, I've seen a lot of people like mainly from TradeFi. There's been a wave of TradeFi guys going into crypto and Web3. Like is it the same when it comes to hiring people like for roles within Amber Group, or are you looking at mostly TradeFi people or like just crypto natives?
I think we look at both because our client base, it's diverse. So maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was mostly the crypto native crowd, but more and more so, there's what we call the crypto curious crowd. They could be consumers or individuals, or they could be institutions, be it FinTech or more traditional finance institutions who are looking to get into the space. And of course, we need a diverse sales and BD team to be able to connect with them. I think that human connection is also very important. And then obviously, the TradeFi people, myself included, likes our jargons and everything, and we feel comfortable around it. So it's easier to have a diverse set of team members and talent to do that.
Okay, so I think around like 2 weeks ago, I saw on the news that Amber Group launched like 2 new products or something, Amber Eco Fund and Amber Labs, right? So from what I know, like both the products, they seem to work together somehow in tandem. So tell me more about that. How do they work?
Yeah, so it is actually, I would consider it one announcement. It is our first and initial foray into the venture side within crypto. So traditionally, we've been more active on the secondary market in providing liquidity and providing wealth management products to our clients. But then due to, I think, where the cycle is, a lot of our clients actually have demand for not just the secondary market, and they want to also have some primary market exposure, especially given where the valuation is now. And I think over the years, we've built that expertise from the builder and operator perspective, working with a different crypto VC side or token projects and different exchanges and counterparties. I think we're uniquely positioned to launch a Amber ecosystem fund that focuses on early stage Web3 investments. Amber Labs is a team of researchers and analysts that we built to act as the GP for the Amber Eco Fund. We are at our early stages, but we want to, of course, like everybody else, find the gems in the market that's going to survive through this winter and thrive in the next market cycle.
Yeah, speaking of winter, I'll get on to that later. So aside from the Amber Ecosystem Fund and Amber Labs, are you guys looking to launch any more products in the future?
Yeah, we always want to continue to be innovative in terms of what we offer, and a large part of that is driven by client demand. So I think right now, I think just given where the market is, where the rate is, and where the macro environment stands, I think a lot of times people want safety. So given what had happened earlier this year, people consider credit risk and counterparty risk a bit more closely, and I think they want different ways to achieve yield, and that has to be a risk premium above where the U.S. Treasury is at to make sense, right? To have a reasonable risk reward. So in addition to the venture side, which is a quite different product, right? It's longer term, more on the VC space. In terms of secondary market products and different yield products, we're always thinking about innovative ways of new products that might be interesting for our clients. So right now we're exploring a couple ideas more on the structured product side. So our clients that continue to monetize volatility in the market, and given what their view is. So you can, there's structures, what we call sort of a range-bound structure, where if you think, okay, the market might continue to be quiet over the next 2 weeks, ETH might stay within this range, or Bitcoin within a certain range, that I'm willing to use the interest portion that I might get paid for the next 2 weeks to try out some of these structured products, and if I'm right about a range, I can get paid an enhanced yield. If I'm wrong, then I get my principal back. I just play with the interest portion. So things like that, I think there might be more demand for. And other than that, continue to build upon our own risk management, our own compliance, security, all of the, I guess, more infrastructure side of things, so that we can continue to service our clients.
Oh, that's interesting. And I think in the previous market cycle, there was this narrative of DeFi option vaults. What do you think about that?
So DeFi option vaults, a lot of times it's the same, right? It's given retail or whoever can connect to these DeFi pools an opportunity to monetize volatility for enhanced yield. But I think the issue is that a lot of times it takes a lot of education for people to understand what it is exactly that they're buying or selling, and what are the risks involved. We do that through our team of relationship managers and sales and traders to explain and educate our clients. But I think when it comes to DeFi, right, it relies a lot heavier on sort of the do your own research ethos. So I think maybe us as an industry in general needs to do a bit more in terms of user education. Then I think also in terms of market structure, in terms of demand, then we see the sort of imbalance with retail wanting to sell vol for yield, but on the buy side, there's not necessarily always that demand, right? So how do we actually move this market to become mature and have sort of a two-sided demand? So I think that's also maybe where the space can go.
And just now you mentioned you touched a bit on the winter and market conditions. So okay, NFA, of course. Where do you think we are right now in the current market cycle?
Well, personally, I think people might not like this answer, but personally, I think we're still at the beginning of this, or at least myself and I think on Amber's side, we're prepared for maybe another 1.5 or 2 years of this bear cycle. And it's very important to remain prudent, at least to plan for that. Maybe the Fed is going to reverse course next year, maybe mid or later next year. And that would mean that I think a lot of what we're seeing right now would be reversed as well. But you never know. And I think we're facing a lot of geopolitical risks on top of what we're already seeing. So I think it doesn't hurt to be more careful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the other people I had on the podcast as well. So I spoke to them, and they mentioned that they're still waiting for a Max Payne event. So I don't know, and most of them just mentioned like 1 to 2 years as well. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so bear market, all of us right now, I think the team as well, they are all in stables. So what about you? Like, what's your personal strategies like when it comes to navigating this bear market?
Yeah, so I think right now it's risk management is key for firms and also for every individual. I think can never underestimate sort of the downside risk or the tail risk event. So the advice I give, I guess, regardless of the market cycle, is to really limit your leverage. Don't risk more than you can lose. If you find yourself unable to sleep at night, that means you're holding too big of a position.
That's me every night.
Yeah, well, I guess you need to maybe limit your exposure a little bit. Especially in markets like this where extreme conditions could happen. So I think first of all, right, really manage your own risk well. And I think secondly, when it comes to portfolio risk and return, there are a couple of factors. I think for myself, right, if you're looking at stablecoins itself, all the yield that different CeFi platforms provide, there is inherent credit spread on top of it. Then you have to really be able to assess that, because at this point you're risking your principal parking with another counterparty. But I think the good news is with the shock that we've seen in Q2, I think most of the skeletons are out. You're already seeing how different counterparties are managing risks. And I think on Amber side, the fact that we do not, as a principal, underwrite any uncollateralized loans or have any credit exposure to any counterparty, that really played out well in this cycle. And you see maybe the cases where it didn't. So I think understanding that there are a lot of hidden risks in the yield that you're seeing. Maybe it's DeFi protocol risk or the CeFi counterparty risk. And I think understanding that, then maybe for myself, at least, I keep a portion of stablecoin or even a portion in dollar fiat that is, in the traditional fixed income market, and the rest just really dollar cost averaging in, building the desired portfolio that I want for the crypto exposure. But this is all done with zero leverage, right? It's all with...
You're not a degen.
Not on this portion. And I think regardless, I am able to sleep well at night knowing that even if there's another shock, there's max pain event, we're going to be able to survive.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And on the risk management portion as well, and I guess it all boils down to just education, right? So bear market, there's not really much activity in the space. So I guess like one piece of advice that everyone should heed is to just like learn more about crypto, like be more prudent to all. Just basically be more safe with your funds, no leverage, no over leveraging, and just learn proper risk management strategies. Okay, so I think bear market, so everything's really dead right now, but there seems to be like a few narratives popping up like left and right currently. So I think like just today there's like the news of like Reddit digital collectibles. I mean they changed the name from NFT to digital collectibles, and everyone seemed so hyped up about it. But what about yourself? Are you looking at any specific narratives or verticals like within this bear market?
Yeah, so I think just from my conversation with people in the industry and also just from the exposure that our Amber Ecosystem Fund and our Amber Labs team are able to get, it is quite interesting to see the dynamics recently, I guess, during this beginning of the bear cycle, given, I think, where the US regulation stands. I think it actually scared off a lot of the DeFi developers. So most of the deals we see from the US are quite infrastructure focused. So that could be sort of base layer 1, or some layer 2 scaling tools, or maybe focused around just infrastructure, security in general. And I think from Asia, it's clearly more, I guess, GameFi or NFT narrative driven. Not surprising, just given, I think, where the market, the Web 2 scene is like previously. So I think it's interesting to see that dynamic. And for us, I think we, for early stage opportunities, we're more bullish on people than on maybe the product per se, because a lot of them hasn't even built a product live on mainnet yet. So I think it's still, we want to see good talent coming to the space, good young builders who are serious about this industry. And I think people who are left still building right now in this cycle, I think it at least proves to us that they are serious. They're not just in for the hype. And I think in terms of the specific narratives, I think there are opportunities within each, maybe infrastructure, maybe middle layer, middleware, all the way to application layer. Of course, everybody is more excited about application layer, and I think personally, I want to see more of that happening as well. If we can actually have a successful Web3 game or GameFi project, that means there will be so many more on-chain assets being created. Then inherently, there is a need for DeFi. There is a need for people to trade, to swap, to borrow against, to leverage. But if we remain where it is right now, then there is no real demand.
Correct. So I had a convo with a guest previously, so the CEO of Covalent. So they're an indexing project, and he mentioned that the application layer is not here yet. So like his focus is all on infrastructure. So maybe I think within the next few years we'll be able to see like a proper like decentralized application like come up. So yeah, and I really like that you mentioned like you're focusing on the people, so human capital in a sense, right? So I think I've been to a few like many like events, and it's really crazy to see that there's so many young people in the space, and yeah, I think if they just keep building and they keep the same amount of passion, we'll be able to, within the next few years, yeah, we'll definitely be able to see a boom in all sorts of apps and verticals within crypto.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the reason you bet on teams is that this market changes so fast. And it takes a good team with determination to be able to survive and to pivot if needed. We've seen a lot of successful cases where they didn't end up doing what they set out to do, but are able to find product market fit elsewhere. And I think that's what's inspiring about the space, that you can do everything in such fast-paced fashion, but that's also challenging.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility. I mean, compared to Web 2, TradFi, like Web 3 is so flexible, and I think it's a really good thing. Like yeah, you just have to grasp that opportunity. Okay, so I understand that you spoke at Token 2049 at multiple panels, and one of them was regarding women in Web3. So I think when it comes to crypto, there seems to be a gender disparity, right, when it comes to the entire space. And what do you think? What do you think where we are now, like when it comes to the like this disparity?
Yeah, I think have come a long way since the beginning, which is maybe like 1% versus 99. Now maybe we're at 1090 or slightly better.
Okay, still improvement.
It is improvement, but I don't think it's where we should be. But I think it's challenge not unique to just Web3. It's unique. It's obvious for TradFi, for tech. And I think at the end of the day, there is lack of female representation, which leads to maybe less female being motivated or incentivized to be a part of this, right? It's sort of self-fulfilling or a negative feedback loop. So we're all talking about it because we want to change that perception. Yeah,
and it's like a chicken and egg problem, right? So like, what do you think like needs to change so we can get more women in the space?
Yeah, so I think starting just from more encouragement, and I think representation is important. I think when people see that there are 3 women on the panel as opposed to the regular, all men outfit, then I think they get inspired. I think one of the most inspiring conversations I've had, it was when I was in Dubai last year. And I think for Middle East, right, that's probably another level of this issue. And there are women that lined up to come say hi to me after my keynote and saying that it's just great to see a female face on the stage. And if that's their only takeaway for the day or during my keynote speech or for the conference, and I think at least I hope that they are encouraged and felt empowered to do this as well. And I think it just comes down to that. Right now, all we can do is continue to speak about this, be active. I make a point to hire women because they are exceptional. And I think that's the only way that we can do to change this.
Oh, that's really inspiring. And what advice do you have to the women who want to join Web3 space?
Yeah, just be confident, be yourself, go pursue your dreams. If it doesn't work out, it's fine. I think the challenge and the beauty of this industry, as we discussed, is that it is on such faster pace. I feel like we're living in 3x, 4x speed, right? And so that gives you a lot of opportunity to try and fail and then try again. So I think don't be afraid of that. Use this as an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think one avenue which most of us have seen, like mainly in the last year, when it comes to representation of women in crypto. So in the NFT space, there's this category of NFTs where it's mainly classified as simp DAOs or simp NFTs. Not to say that it's a bad thing, because really there were a lot of eyeballs on this specific category. What do you think about simp NFTs?
I guess, my take might be a bit controversial. I think whatever generates eyeball and generate interest. I think what I want to see is more people in general, and hopefully female in particular, feeling inspired, interested to come join the space. If we're talking about DeFi or infrastructure, maybe it is difficult, but if it's something that I think historically women are more incentivized or pay more attention to, maybe, and I think NFT as a tool gave that field of possibility. So you can continue to be an artist, you can continue to be a content creator, but also be part of the crypto, the Web3 world. It's not limited to just the miners or whoever it was back in the day. So I think that gave more opportunity and more representation as a result. It's an area where maybe I'm not an expertise of, but I think I have already seen a lot more female participation because of it. So I think actually, at this point, we just have to do whatever it takes to bring more people on board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing as well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still like a net positive, right? When it comes to like increasing adoption in the space, when it comes like for women as well. So yeah, not all bad. Okay, so before this podcast, I've done a lot of research on you, your profile, and I've seen that you've been to a lot of conferences and even spoke on multiple panels at each conference. So what was it like going to conferences?
Yeah, I would say it's twofold. One is being able to meet a lot of people in a very short amount of time in a very dedicated place, and that's always interesting. You can see, you can sort of feel the vibe, right? Who are the investors here? Who are the builders here? Who are the, I guess, service providers here? And what are they thinking? What are they talking about? Before, right, 4 or 5 years ago, it was mostly exchanges or wallets, miners. Now it's become all of the NFT artists.
Yeah.
Or you can see the sort of the industry change through going to these conferences and being able to see and meet a lot of people at a very short amount of time. And I think now we also focus a lot on the education piece. So this is a venue, a chance for you to speak to a lot of people about maybe what you do, what the firm does, and what the industry is about. And it's always incredible to see all of the participants gather together and share their insights. And then I think that's the reason we continue to participate.
And I think going for so many conferences, does it still feel like a bear market to you? Or no? Because when I went for Token 2049, it felt like a bull market. It didn't feel like a bear market.
No, yeah. So I guess to our argument, maybe the max pain is still away. But then I think it's also because of the diversity of the people. It's not just a crypto native crowd. There are a lot of people who maybe hasn't done anything yet, just curious, just wanted to check out the scene. And think every cycle we are exponentially better than where we were before, even just looking at the price itself. So I think even though this bear market felt painful, but I think just looking at where crypto market is compared to maybe 4 years ago, 8 years ago, it's materially different. But of course, because it coincided with the macro market cycle, so that we felt the pain more, right?
Yep.
It's not just crypto down, it's everything down. Liquidity gone everywhere. So I think maybe that's where a lot of the sentiment came from. But I think where crypto itself stands, we're so much better than where we were, so much bigger than where we were.
Yeah, that's true. And what's your favorite part of going to conferences aside from the free food and drinks?
I didn't even get to get any free food and drinks.
Oh no!
Yes,
just too busy, right?
But I think it's there's always the opportunity to meet new people, and also catch up with old friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. I think it's always good to see them around, and it's again an opportunity to meet so many people in a very short amount of time. So it's very quite efficient. And for Singapore, it's surprising to see not just Asia, but really everywhere in the world, people from all over coming. Yeah, so saves me trips to fly over all the time, right?
Yeah, that's great. All right, before we end our episode, so I asked this question to all our guests, and it's a pretty hot question. Everyone loves it. What's your most degen crypto story?
Yeah, I guess my story is probably not going to date as much as maybe some of the crypto OGs where I can't imagine where they've gone through. But I think for me, maybe it's one of the more fun memories as well. It was when I was back in Hong Kong with a group of crypto guys. That was, I think, 2019 during the last bear market. And that was before the first Binance IEO, and everyone was trying to figure out how to do it. Trying to figure out where the fastest internet connection is, trying to essentially get the lottery or get the IEO allocation. And then we just have all of us sitting next to each other with different computers trying to really
game the system.
Or just trying to test our luck, that see if one of us get it. And a lot of friendship came from there as well. And I think coincidentally that also helped in some ways, kicked off some market activity during the bear market. So I think that was an interesting time. And I remember distinctively where after one of us were lucky enough to essentially win the allocation, Bitcoin is probably around 3K back then, right? We immediately sold everything to stables. And now we're all regretting.
Oh no.
If we kept in BNB or kept it in Bitcoin. Yeah, so I think that shows that maybe we didn't have full conviction. Yeah, so this time we'll all do it very differently.
I mean that's you didn't lose money, right?
No.
So that's still a wholesome degen story. Like, at least you didn't lose money. So
True.
That's great. All right, before we end, what pieces of advice do you have for people who want to just enter Web3?
Well, I think just do it, right? I've met a lot of people who has been sort of on the sidelines for a long time, and always maybe hoping to time the market a little before they come in. And then all of us realize it's impossible to time the market. If you feel like you're interested, I consider it still a very, in terms of risk and reward, it's still a good trade to come in now. It's not too late yet. And if you feel like you have a good product idea, you have a good team of founders, then start building. Now it's important to focus on that. There's not too much hype or noise. Just make sure you build a product, find a PMF, and I think the product will speak for itself. All of us, all investors are out there looking for these gems. But if you're still sort of on the sideline, not doing it fully, then it's difficult, because this requires a 24/7 market, requires not just 100%, maybe 200% of your attention.
True.
Yeah, so I think again, it's never a bad time
Yeah, so basically just timing the market instead of timing the market, right? Yep.
Exactly.
Great. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching another episode of the Chain Debrief podcast. Thank you so much, Annabelle Huang, Managing Partner of Amber Group. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.